Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every week, it's Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com, who isn't, in fact, waiting for any kind of approval to do anything right now.
I wait for no one's approval.
Mike Reyes.
You know me. You know how this goes.
I know. It is another week and a whole bunch of more movies and news and all that's coming out. The big movie this week is obviously going to be Ant-Man Quantumania, which there will be time travel involved here. We'll cover that at the end of this because Mike is actually going to see it tonight. Are you seeing it in 3D?
Yes, I am.
That actually seems like one that I would want to see in 3D. Like there's enough visual there that would make it interesting.
Oh, yeah, but one thing that I'm already fearing is a lot of people have been complaining about, it's the usual Marvel complaint that people like to throw out, like, oh, it all looks so gray and messy and sloppy, and it's like, great. That's going to do wonders for trying to keep a bright 3D picture in frame.
What's
so,
in?
Obviously,
No, I was just going to say, everything I've heard so far is Jonathan Majors is awesome. The rest of the movie's a mess.
Well, I've definitely heard a lot of very mixed reviews because one of my editors actually loves the movie and another one absolutely did not. So I'm ready for more divisive action, as this is apparently the second rotten Marvel movie. The first one, I think, being Eternals. Lots of people. In fact, let me double check where this thing currently sits on the tomatometer. So currently, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is at 51% with 175 reviews.
Wow, that seems like a lot. It's weird that the movies come out during the day on Thursday, right?
Oh yeah, well. Yeah, because now people are trying to goose those Thursday, because it's real good news if it's like, hey, this movie did X amount in Thursday previews. That's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen showings as early as 2 p.m. today.
Real quick, though, you know what's interesting? There is still not a complete plot on Wikipedia for Ant-Man.
I'm wondering if people are just scratching their heads trying to figure out what the plot is.
Maybe, possibly.
Although, from what I have heard, this is like, I've heard comparisons to that this is, the most sci-fi movie Marvel's ever made. I've heard it's their equivalent to Star Wars. There's been like so many different interesting things that have come in. And apparently some of the most interesting supporting characters are completely absent from here, including, we knew Michael Peña's Luis wasn't going to be in here. Luis was not going to be in here at all, and that already made me upset. But now apparently Scott's ex-wife and her husband, played by Judy Greer and Bobby Cannavale, are like not even there. And I'm going in with an open mind.
It doesn't sound like it.
But I'm very curious. No, I am, because I like Ant-Man. I actually did like the previous two Ant-Man movies, and while they're not exactly the most solid or connected films to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they were certainly a lot of fun. Although I think they've wasted some pretty good cast members in the past, too, because you have Walton Goggins playing a bad guy in the last one, and he was, like, barely in it.
Yeah. Actually, that was on the other day, and I was flipping through, and I saw him. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's in this. So, speaking of nerd stuff, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. So let's get to some of the movie news and all of that. The big one, I think, and it looks pretty cool because it could be taken a couple different ways. Tetris is essentially becoming a movie, but it's not the Tetris you think.
It's not the movie you'd think, yeah, but it is definitely the Tetris you'd think, because Apple TV just dropped the trailer for their Tetris biopic. Now, this is a movie we knew it was coming for a while, but no one, I think everybody was still sort of scratching their heads on how can you make a Tetris movie, and how can it be interesting, and how the hell does it get an R rating for language? Just language. That's it. It literally, you look at the descriptor, it's R for language. I can kind of see where the language comes in. Because, first of all, if you use the F-bomb more than once, you probably get that automatic R.
Yeah.
The situation that Tetris was sort of forged under is something that anyone would be able to swear about, because it's based on the true story of how, Texas. It's not the word I'm looking for. Tetris, you idiot.
Tetris.
It's the situation where Tetris was created by a Soviet programmer, and then an enterprising young man played by Hank Rogers, played by Taron Egerton, was looking to bring the rights over to the West. And the situation that arises from all of that and all of the red tape that came out of it. It's such an interesting true story, and if you did it the right way, it would be interesting. This looks like they've done it the right way because it's part spy thriller, part biopic, part 8-bit dream. Because there's actually, when you see it in the trailers, actually sequences where there's 8-bit title cards and there's a car chase that's depicted in like 8-bit graphics. And there's even a moment where they crash and it sort of like blips out into 8-bit, like an 8-bit game over screen. This is exactly what people should be doing with biopics now.
I legitimately, when you said there was a Tetris trailer, I thought it was going to be like, what was the, like Battleship or, what was the one with Adam Sandler and all the video games? Pixels. I thought it was going to be something like that where they're legitimately trying to work Tetris into a real-world scenario, and this looks much better.
Oh, yeah. No, actually telling the story of Tetris the people behind this movie realize that the story itself is interesting enough that if you really want to make a movie with the Tetris name on it, you just need to tell the true story.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line right now. I'll actually put the Tetris trailer on the page here so folks can see it if they haven't. Meanwhile, one of the other trailers we got just this morning, and we are recording on the 16th. It's about 10:30 Central Time at the moment, if you must know. But we got a new John Wick trailer.
Yeah, we did. John Wick Chapter 4, which will be releasing in theaters a week earlier on March 24th, a week earlier than Tetris. And, you know, you and I were talking about it before, and for the most part, it's exactly what you'd expect. Keanu Reeves' John Wick is mopping up bad dudes. And this time it's in the name of potentially getting his freedom back, because as we knew at the end of John Wick Chapter 2, John Wick was excommunicado with the criminal underground. And, you know, 3, he was on the run. He's still on the run in this movie, but now he's ready to bring his fight to the high table. And as if that wasn't bad enough, it looks like he's going to have to face off against Scott Adkins in a fat suit. And I can't wait to see what this dude does in a fat suit. Like, I'm sure this is probably something that's going to draw more attention and ire from people asking why they didn't use a plus size performer. And that's understandable. That's a talk we can have at some point. But at the same time, Scott Adkins is a built dude. Yeah. And to be able to fight in one of those suits, and I'm assuming he will fight, it's just got to be one of the greatest physical challenges that an actor can undertake, and I'm excited for that.
I'm looking forward to it. I got to go back and watch those movies, though, because there is a piece of them that kind of runs together for me.
Well, yeah, because the story is like always, it's kind of like Saw, where the story is always expanding, and like every movie brings in this new sort of texture and new characters that sort of draw past installments in a different light.
Yeah, it like I said, not in a bad way or anything like that. It's not like the Bourne Identity series, where I couldn't tell you past the second one, and maybe even the second one. The only one I can legitimately really remember is the first one.
I'm going to let you in on a secret. Huh. I'm not a secret, but I'm going to let you in on something. I think Bourne Supremacy might be the only really good one.
I love Bourne Identity.
Identity was cool, but Supremacy really kicked it off for me.
But I don't remember. Anyways, back to John Wick. I can't wait. It's a great series. It's a great feel, and it's a... do yourself a favor, and I know we've talked about this before. If you've never seen Keanu Reeves actually go to a shooting range, look up the videos for it, because the dude is awesome.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen his training videos, and yeah, dude, man's a beast.
Let's
dive back into Keanu Reeves. Oh, you first.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what's her name? Was it Halle Berry? Was she in the second and the third one?
Yeah.
She did one of the courses too, and she's really good with a gun.
I don't think they let anybody into that sort of the franchise in that context unless they can handle themselves, because Ana de Armas is going to be in the ballerina spinoff, and she is also like crazy good with a gun because they showed her training for the Gray Man. Okay. And it's crazy. And not just for John Wick, but also 87 North, the production company that I don't know if I think they were directly involved with John Wick, but they've also sort of branched out into things like Atomic Blonde and Violent Night. Yes. I don't think they pick anybody that can't handle the action, because even Bob Odenkirk and Nobody like really kicked all sorts of ass. I love that movie.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. What else were we going to talk about? We had the Tetris thing that came up today, John Wick. I'm trying to think of
Someone's apparently spoiled the ending to Scream 6.
Oh, that's right, because we were talking about, I don't know if we mentioned it when we were talking about Ant-Man a little bit ago, but I randomly stumbled across, I was telling a buddy that I randomly stumbled across maybe the post-credit scene of Ant-Man, and then he said the same thing you did, where they think they spoiled Scream 6. What's going on here?
So, allegedly, there was a leak of a video that shows the reveal of the killer for Scream 6. Now, I'm not sure how accurate this would be, especially, I mean, the movie is coming out next month, so it's probably locked, done deal. They're probably arranging test screenings. But somehow a video has come out that shows the reveal, and it's been circulating through social media.
You know, there's been that. I saw a bunch of stuff about before the actual trailers for Rise of the Beast came out. There's been a lot of this type of stuff. It's one thing to hear a rumor of something, but like actual seeing footage from this stuff, it seems like there's a lot more of that going on lately.
Yeah, and it's one of those scenarios where you have to really question, like, is this an actual leak, or is this something that the studio let out to get people talking? Because if I'm not mistaken, Scream 2 might have had its ending leaked, but then they leaked a whole bunch of fake endings as well, like from the script.
Yeah.
Like they leaked a whole bunch of fake endings to sort of muddy the waters. So there may be precedent for this, but I really don't know. I'm not looking for it. I have not seen the Scream sequels, so I'm looking to catch up before seeing 6, because 6 is actually the first one that's going to be going to theaters in 3D. And yeah, I am not. I just hate that this is happening.
Well, you know me, and like I don't want to ruin it for people. Like I'll ruin it for myself, but I don't ruin it for other people.
Yeah. Although the only other thing I can think of, the only other reason why I could think that ending may have been leaked is something I like to call pulling a Giuliani. And that comes from Borat 2. Because when Borat 2 was coming out, they reported the whole Giuliani scene before it came out. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's gold.
Yeah.
But then you go and watch the movie, and then it ends with a secret Tom Hanks cameo.
Huh.
And it's like, okay, so maybe you're leaking this thing to sort of draw people's attention away from something bigger. No Time to Die kind of had the same thing happen, because in the delay to release the movie, someone leaked, oh, James Bond has a daughter in this movie. And it's like, what? And then, of course, we all know the big thing that happened at the end of No Time to Die, and that may have been the leak to sort of throw people off. So I'm starting to wonder if studios are taking that into account.
Like, give them something to throw them off.
About how much, yeah, or even just they're being more savvy about it. It's like, okay, there's something at the end of this that we're building toward, and we're just going to go ahead and throw this out there, get people talking. It's publicity for the movie, and then the bigger thing can be deployed without any sort of distraction.
Anyways, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. I remember the other thing we were going to talk about. We were going to go over some of the trailers from the Super Bowl, because that was this past week.
I'm not going to finish the song. I don't want to get copyright strict.
Let's start with The Flash. I loved every part of it except Ezra Miller.
Yeah, I still.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's
position to be put in.
Like I was like, oh cool, Ben Affleck's in it. Oh cool, we get to see Michael. The Michael Keaton doing the I'm Batman was kind of like, it was a little too on the nose for me. But them showing him fight,
I don't care.
Them showing him fight was pretty awesome. Because I think he's gonna finally.
I don't care.
It's gonna finally look the way it should have looked, you know?
Yeah, I don't care how on the nose it was. I loved Keaton doing the I'm Batman thing. I like that he's actually still in the movie, and that we will probably get to, we'll get to see him do some damage, and it's going to make me even more upset probably that they shelved his appearance in Batgirl.
Yeah.
They may already be deleting him out of Aquaman, because I thought he was in Aquaman 2. And it apparently there were, I don't know if the source was reliable, but I saw one of those cute little graphics on social media where it's like, it looks like it was pulled from a news story. And they were like, yeah, the original plan for the DC multiverse was they were going to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie. There was going to be a Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
I still want a Batman Beyond with Michael
Keaton.
Keaton.
We talked about this last week. It'd be awesome. But
I'm sure we'll still keep talking about it until they do it.
Probably. I could.
Just
know what?
do it.
That's one I could see James Gunn going. You know what? I like it. Let's do it.
Yeah, that really is. I don't see him having a problem with that because it's also an Elseworld scenario where it doesn't have to be part of the major continuity. Because they're already talking about how they're going to have Robert Pattinson's Batman, and in addition to a new Batman that they're going to start for like the series proper.
Yeah,
like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. With like, oh, here's the big continuity where everything wraps together, and here's Elseworlds where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me. The Ezra. I don't want to dive too much into it, but the Ezra Miller part is just like it's like. I don't need you in this movie, and I wish you weren't in this movie.
It breaks my heart because they have done such horrible things, and they are clearly a person in crisis. But I still love their portrayal of Barry Allen in The Flash, and especially in Justice League. Like, every time I watch Justice League, their big speech towards the end is one of the moments that always gets me. It really makes me upset that this is, you're kind of you're a monster.
Kind of my ass. They are. The other trailer we got at the game this weekend, we got another look at Guardians Volume 3, which I think, boy, if it turns out the way the trailer makes you feel, it's going to be a sad movie.
Yeah, 2 trailers in, and I think they're going to kill my boy. And I am not very happy about that. And, now they're introducing Rocket's girlfriend, Lila, who we still don't know who her voice is going to be, but I'm really pulling for those rumors that it's Lady Gaga because a Gaga Cooper reunion would be kind of friggin' sweet. But also, I don't want them to kill Rocket, and it looks like this is going to focus very heavily on his creation. And
the image of him strapped to that little table and them getting ready to dissect him or whatever.
Oh no, that's when he was turned into.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The sentient being he is now.
That scene is just, I felt so bad for him in that.
I know. I do not like seeing animals in pain, but it's even worse when you have a character to latch onto.
That cute little trash panda.
I know. And it's like throughout the movies, he's a tough guy, but obviously there's a sensitivity and there's a softer side to that character, and then just hearing him with that line about, flying off into the great whatever, like,
yeah,
I almost feel like they're giving us the punchline right there, and it's gonna hurt so much if that's the truth.
There's still a part of me that wonders if he's if it's like Mantis or something dying because we found out it's his sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm sorry, I forgot you hadn't watched that. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Dude, do you see how far it is past Christmas? I'm surprised I made it this long, and I'm actually not mad. Wow. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that gets revealed now. I gotta go and watch that now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. Dude, like I said, it's this far past Christmas. If it was really that big of a priority, I would have done it. I don't even know Christmas is just the holidays are just a very busy time to begin with. But I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it, and that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Okay. Now, one thing, it does mention it very early in it. It's not like it's not like it's a secret reveal at the end or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like Kevin Bacon's revealed to be Star-Lord's brother or anything.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line.
Is that supposed to be a joke that's the reveal?
So, we're going to do some time travel here. Quantumania.
Sidestepping the question, sir.
Acting!
Acting!
No, it has nothing to do with that. But I am glad that I could give just good enough of a performance to make you wonder.
Oh, brilliant, sir. Brilliant. You are a master thespian.
Patrick Stewart would be proud of me right now. Acting! Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to do some time travel and be back with Quantumania and maybe Star Trek Picard Season 3. That comes out today. So.
Oh, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right. Time travel in 3, 2, 1. Wow.
One shot, Legolas.
All right, we are back from time travel. It is officially Friday the 17th, and last night, one Mr. Mike Reyes from Reyes. I don't know why I like saying your name like that, but it's kind of fun.
Wah, wah, wah.
Mike Reyes. Anyways, you saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania last night. What say you, Mike Reyes?
It's fun. I don't know why people are complaining about this movie.
Really?
It's probably, it's not, look, this is not a perfect Marvel movie. This is not a top-tier Marvel movie. I'm going to put that out there plain as day. And, you know, we haven't, I don't know, Endgame's probably the last top-tier Marvel movie we've really had.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at it again because they've all just kind of blurred together in Phase 4. We're now starting Phase 5 because 4 was apparently, you know, a short trip to the bank. I don't know. But Quantumania is good. I mean, it's short. It's actually like a little over 2 hours, which surprises the hell out of me because, you know, we're coming out of Black Panther Wakanda Forever being almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
And most other Marvel movies clocking in and around the 2:20 to 2.5 hour mark. So to have a Marvel movie that comes in at 2 hours, 5 minutes, that's pretty amazing. But the Ant-Man series has never been, it's always kind of been the lighter sort of franchise, one of the lighter franchises in Marvel. But even with Quantumania, they get more serious and there's more stakes. And part of that is because of the fact that Jonathan Majors is a really good Kang the Conqueror. We see another variant of his outside of the one that we met at the end of season 1 of Loki. And again, he just has this quiet menace to him. He barely, like, he's another one of those villains where he only raises his voice where he has to.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it is him being very deliberate and very menacing and plotting and just a very even tone. But the words that he speaks with this tone are what really make the menace.
They have weight to them.
Yeah, but then he has a huge fist fight with Paul Rudd towards the end where, like, part of his costume's ripped and you see, like, the gun show at work. And it's like, okay, now he's angry. Now it's serious. That's the guy I'm going to see in Creed 3 next week.
Oh, boy.
And Jonathan Majors is, again, a wonderful addition. But I also like that Michelle Pfeiffer got to do more in this movie than she did in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, it was really cool to see her in there, but she's more of a central character because, you know, Janet Van Dyne's been to Quantum Realm. She knows what's going on, and she had an earlier encounter with Kang that sets the table for everything, and this in turn sets the table for the MCU. And, you know, obviously, stay till the end of the credits. There are 2 post-credit scenes that sort of further that along a little more. This is definitely a more serious Ant-Man movie, but it still has the humor to it. It still has some pretty good, like, Michael Douglas gets some pretty good one-liners in this one, and he's been really fun to watch in the whole Ant-Man series. Like, that's another actor you would never thought in a million years would be part of Marvel, and then it was like, hey, Michael Douglas is Hank Pym. It's like, ooh, awesome.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Paul Rudd is just fantastic. Like, Scott Lang, getting to see Scott Lang in a more serious light is definitely a joy because Paul Rudd can do anything.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd really can. He is really one of those underrated performers that everybody loves to talk about his ageless looks and his, you know, effortless charm. But the man can flip into any, like, he's done villainous, he's done, you know, completely off the wall, you know, Brian Fantana and Anchorman's a good example of that. But yeah. But it's just Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is a lot of fun. I did see it in 3D, and the big problem is the movie is just too damn dark. Like, you either need to turn up that projector, or I had heard complaints that even people who saw the 2D premiere were like, yeah, this thing is, like, muddy as hell. Why are we doing this, Marvel? You have the money for effect.
Yeah.
But, yeah, besides that, it's enjoyable. It's a nice, it continues to be a nice, light sort of respite from some of the more serious, bigger stuff that's going on. But at the same time, Ant-Man now feels like it's been made into an important part of what's to come.
I get you.
And that's one of the criticisms that I always had with the other movies. It's like, Ant-Man movies are fun heists, but they never really played too deeply into what was going on at the time.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania is fun. Go check it out this weekend. It'll be interesting to see after the weekend what the ratings for it are.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm really curious to see what the fan. What I think it's the fan ratings or like the audience rating.
Yeah.
The one where it's basically if you bought a ticket, you're basically registered to leave your thoughts. And I really do want to see how public reaction fares with this.
Okay.
Because this really does not deserve to be put on the same level as Eternals. I'm sorry.
Eternals is awful.
Eternals was such a slog, and I get that they're trying to do something different, but at the same time, you can see where that movie was held back by being a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Like capital Marvel, capital movie.
Yeah.
Like if you did that in phase 1, you would have had more leeway.
Or if it seemed like it fit into that universe at all.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, that it was, if Marvel is the square peg, that was the round hole of their movies.
Yeah. No, that's absolute. That is one of my least favorite Marvel movies, and I hate to say that because I remember loving Chloe Zhao's Nomadland.
Yeah.
And, it was really cool to have an independent film director come in and bring in a new spin, but it just didn't work for me. But maybe, you know what, Eternals 2 might be better because I think it might just be Chloe Zhao's vision.
Yeah.
And I know when she came into the first one, I think there was like a script that was kicking around and she did work on that. And you know what those sort of situations. It's like the original Ant-Man. You had an Edgar Wright, Joe Cornish script that Marvel wasn't really a huge fan of and then went and did their work on it. And you could feel that sort of disjointedness in that first film, but then there was more of a voice in the future installments.
Yeah. Like I said, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. That'll do it for Ant-Man and Quantumania. Did you want to hear about Picard at all?
Of course.
Star Trek in Paramount and CBS, they've managed to make the special effects on a TV show as good as any movie special effects for Star Trek.
Oh yeah, we've been in that era for a while now, but I'm assuming Picard has given you something so beautiful that you are telling us this.
See, I don't want to give away too much because you haven't seen it, but it seems like every season of Picard they've gotten better with it. They've fit it more into it, and it feels more like Star Trek. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like they're really like they're breaking it in.
Yeah, it feels more like it is actually a part of the Star Trek universe, where the first season seemed like, okay, yeah, it's the character, but it's not really it kind of feels like a fever dream of Star Trek. Okay.
Almost like we're gonna do wild.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole thing of, hey, let's do a Star Trek show without any Star Trek in it. That's how to say it. So that was the first season. The second season was a little less that, and now this season, it feels like a Star Trek show. But there's in the episode last night and this week, the first episode of season 3, it's really good and it looks beautiful. Like it is beautiful. Like what they've done with the ships, what they've done with the interiors. The humor in it is very well done. Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes are awesome together. It kind of It kind of reminds me of buddy cop movie.
That's always. I feel like that's always been, or at least that eventually became their shtick.
Yeah.
Like I always remember the end of Generations being one of my favorite Picard and Riker moments, where they're just standing there and like Riker has that line about, well, speak for yourself. I'm going to live forever.
Yeah. There's a line in this one. He goes, your hands are stiff and my knees ache. As long as we don't have to move or shoot, we should be fine.
Or shoot. I heard, you know what? I was driving out to Ant-Man last night with my wife, and someone was doing a review of this season of Picard on NPR. That was one of the clips they played, and I smiled and I laughed, and it just felt like that energy that I was so familiar with out of those two. And I'm glad to hear that it's not just shut up and play the hits, or we got to get the band back together for one last adventure, that it's actually so far doing something with that possibility.
I was trying to think of because there are a lot of parts I really like about it. There's other parts of it that I'm not sure how the timeline works in this. And that's what I was trying to figure out.
That's something that's become even more confusing as the Star Trek shows have progressed on well, not confusing, but just even more
muddled.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I guess so. Or just even more. It's just become even more complicated as the shows go on because Discovery started. Well, I had always thought Discovery was in the Kelvin timeline, but it wasn't. But that started before the original Star Trek, and then jumps ahead past Next Generation.
Yeah, it's 31st century now. But no, so in this one, the parts that are confusing are from the end of Nemesis through where you are now. That's where Picard takes place. And in that time frame, what we found out, and this was on their Instagram page, and this is a little nitpicky stuff, but like the Enterprise F that you see in the trailer, that's actually its last voyage. It's being decommissioned already after 16 years of service, and something went wrong with it or whatever. But like some of that stuff, it's like, okay, when is this happening? How did all this happen? In this time frame, But anyways, back to the actual story of it. It's good. There are some interesting plot points, like the captain of the Titan, which I'm trying to find his name. Todd Stashwick. Is that how you say his name?
I have no clue.
He is from. He was in 12 Monkeys. He was Deacon in 12 Monkeys. He was.
Oh, that tracks because Terry Matalas, the showrunner of 12 Monkeys, has been running Picard for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. And they said there's a lot of connections. I watched one of the breakdowns. The point I was trying to make about the captain of the Titan is in the show, it's Liam Shaw, played by Todd Stashwick. Like, there's a scene that, like, it doesn't make sense to me. The setup for them to get on the Titan is essentially they're doing a surprise inspection. Picard and Riker, right? I don't want to tell you why, but they need to get on the ship and use it. And that's their cover story. Yeah. Right? And this
starting to sound like Search for Spock.
So they get on board, and this captain, you have 2 guys that in the Star Trek universe are really big names, right? This guy is just a prick to them, outwardly rude, and it makes 0 sense. Like there's
you gotta wonder if it's just like he read about their historic exploits and he's like, I wish that could have been me. What the hell?
No, they're like, it's just, I get that you want characters to create conflict, right?
Yeah.
It's not believable for me that in this universe where you have 2 of the biggest names in your organization, and you're just gonna be an outright dick to both of them.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler, but you know what he gives them for quarters?
What?
Cadet quarters with bunk beds. It's like,
of course, just the guys you don't like.
It's unbelievable in that respect of creating conflict. That was my only kind of issue with it. I like what they did with the story, where they're trying to take it, some of the stuff they're setting up. I enjoyed the look of it. It's beautiful. I think people are going to like the new the Titan. It's going to be the hero ship of the season, I guess, and it is called a Neo Constitution class.
I wonder what's going to be in the future after Picard. Just because I know you've had Jonathan Frakes going on saying, well, it doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the cruise adventures. It might be the last Picard adventure.
Yeah.
So that's like, are we going to get a Riker series? What would you want to see past what you've seen of Picard? Where would you want to see that plotline go?
I would like, I would like something like Strange New Worlds is the most Star Trek show they've put out since they've started doing new stuff, right?
Well, yeah, because it's more like the mission of the week stuff.
Yeah, it's that, but it's also on a starship and on this. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing a new crew in this timeline.
Yeah, like just a fresh, brand new, post next gen crew.
Yeah, it's like a continuation of that, because you look at Deep Space Nine or Voyager, they were set in that timeline. They were just different stories being told. I wouldn't mind something like that. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but I wouldn't mind, like, if Jonathan Frakes was a part of it, or I don't know who's going to make it out alive. 7 of 9 is great in it still. She's got some great lines in this episode too.
Yeah, I'm really glad that one of the things they seem to be getting right is giving Jerry Ryan a character that fits her acting skills, because let's not beat around the bush. 7 of 9 was a big eye candy in like the UPN era of Star Trek, where it was like, we've got a hot Borg and the Rock as an alien. What more do you want, nerds? And now
Nerds.
we've been revisiting this character. It's like now they're revisiting this character and giving her more the depth and the range that really should have been there from day one.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, obviously she carries it off.
It seems more real than some of like the conversations they have and the way they talk to each other and stuff like that. It seems more real. Like there's one point where Jonathan Frakes has a line of, "Yeah, who wants to go see a bunch of old farts talk about going boldly, into the beyond or whatever."
Oh, that's so beautiful.
He there's one when they're in the bunk beds. He goes, "This reminds me of my cadet days, except I don't remember having to pee this much."
See, that's kind of like that thing that Harrison Ford was talking about recently with the Indiana Jones sequel coming up. He said that there were old jokes, but it's like they removed a lot of them out of the script because he's like, no, that's demeaning. I don't want that in there. Let's play the jokes rather than just have him say, "Well, I'm old," like 20 million times.
Yeah. There's just stuff that it seems more, the conversations seem more real, but then there's parts like that it's like, or going back to the one scene with the captain of the Titan where it's, yes, have that conflict in there. You need someone to be the bad guy, but make it believable. And that part wasn't believable to me.
Well, yeah. And also, this is the answer that I wanted out of you because I wasn't trying to feed you like, oh, do you just want them to do more next gen? It's like, I wanted to hear your thoughts because, again, Star Trek is probably at its widest and sort of like it's cast its widest net right now because there's so many different timelines. There's a couple different timelines in play. There's different crews in play. This is the most franchisey it's felt. And I was curious where you would want to see that go because another question I want to ask you is, do you think they're going to get back to feature films at any point soon? And what sort of feature films would you want to see? Because, we're still sitting here where Star Trek 4 in the Kelvin timeline is just, that's probably never happening. Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek movies probably never happening. Like we had so many of these promising ideas that sort of fell off, and TV has sort of grown. Like Star Trek's gone home basically and become a TV.
I think it needs to stay TV for now. I don't think I don't think Discovery's popular enough to be a movie right now. Like I think it has its fans, but it's still pretty decisive on. Like I'm a Star Trek guy. I didn't even finish season 3. I just lost interest at some point. It's just like, okay. I don't know why. It's just, one of those things. That and somebody said something about season 3 because they get thrown into the 31st century, right? They do an upgrade of Discovery, and someone made the thing, and I can't get it. It's kind of like the thing with Endgame I was talking about earlier, where I can't get it out of my head that someone said, they did an upgrade of a 1,000-year-old ship. That's like doing an upgrade to a Viking ship to modern standards. Oh. And I can't get that picture out of my head, so. But anyways,
a Viking ship with like Titanic hull.
Yeah, exactly. It's so heavy it can't float anymore. I want to see I know this is ending kind of the next generation phase of this. I would like to see this time expand a little bit more, do a little bit more of the Starfleet stuff. The Section 31 stuff could be interesting, but I don't. And I like Michelle Yeoh. Is that her name?
Michelle Yeoh, yeah.
Yeoh. Excuse, I knew it was a Y, but I couldn't remember what it was. I like her, but the era and all that, I'm not real crazy about. It seems very convoluted how you get her to be the part of Section 31 is kind of the long and short of that. But I think that's an interesting area. I think doing just a modern, almost Strange New Worlds is a good way to go. It's kind of like, it kind of goes against the thing with Star Wars where it's like at some point, there's a reason people like Star Wars, right? And when it came back to that, that's, when they did the prequels, it wasn't as Star Wars as what people remembered. So they had to give them something, like Force Awakens, where it's like, okay, that's Star Wars, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you got to give the fan service before you break open into something new.
So I think they need a couple more years of like Strange New Worlds, and then you can kind of test those waters a little bit. But I mean, Star Trek at its core is, exploring space, and that's kind of what it needs to be. Seeking out strange new life and new civilizations, that sort of thing.
Boldly going where all old farts have gone before.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think there's a lot of stories to be told in that world. And I think they're going to touch on some of that, like some of the underworld stuff, some of the, outside of Starfleet stuff. My buddy Justin and I, we came up with a show idea. We wanted to see, whenever they do a show, it's always like a brand new ship that you start with and a new crew getting together, right? We wanted to see an older ship with a seasoned crew that gets a new captain.
Ooh.
And trying to...
Switching the power dynamic there.
Yeah. Where you have this crew that's been together for a long time trying to, get used to this captain. He's trying to get used to them. And that sort of thing.
I want to see that.
That and more lower decks.
Imagine Alan Ruck's captain from Generations.
Yeah.
Like, he's in crew, and he's just sitting in the middle of all that.
Yeah. No, there's that.
Series, as you said.
There's, I just want stuff that fits into the universe. That's all. I want them to pay attention to the continuity they've already set up. That's one thing that drives me nuts about Picard, is the continuity is not always the same.
Yeah.
And Picard's been using the same key code for a very long time. Picard, 47 Alpha Tango.
Huh.
But anyways, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back maybe. That's kind of up in the air at the moment. But anyways, Mike, you have yourself a great weekend.
You too, man.